Imagine being thousands of feet in the air when all of a sudden you spot something. But what you spot is not only a miracle, but it ends up that there will be deadly consequences attached to it. You want to know how these two stories unfold? Stick around. What's going on, Midnight Mafia? Thank you all for joining me back on another week. Today I'm uploading Saturday. Figured last Friday people thought it was a great episode, one of my best, but the views were down. So I'm like, YouTube, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to upload on Saturday. So hopefully this goes out to all of you, then you share it to all them, then all of them share it to all they. You know what I mean? But either way, I got two incredible, amazing stories for you today. And believe me, there might be an ending that... No, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. But make sure to find the hidden clue. Put what it is with the timestamp into the comments to get pinned and entered into the giveaway, which is 9 days away. Which reminds me, last week I said if you guys guessed what I was wearing on my feet, you get an extra entry. Well, this is what I was wearing. Yep, I fooled most of you again. I did the reverse psychology and just kept wearing shoes. But this week is the last week because, like I said, the giveaway is in 9 days. So for the last time, I'm gonna take out my phone right here. Gonna put it on the little, as you can see, we're taking pictures. Okay, this time it's different. It's not shoes, so that should be like, you know, I'm taking away like 25% of the options. But is it socks? Is it snorkel gear? Is it flippers? Is it sandals? What is it? It has been taken. Okay, so now that that's done, without any further ado, I can tell you guys that I just put out a cool brand new hoodie and t-shirt. I want you to check it out below. Midnight Mafia Squad, I hope you love it. But, you know, other than that, the Patreon is looking good. We got somebody to join, so if you want to join as well, just make sure to check out my Patreon. Links in the description. I appreciate you people. It's the only way I can get by, truly. I truly appreciate you guys. Without you, I don't know what I would do. I'm just being honest. I don't know what I would do. Okay, so this time, for real, without any further ado, as of now, it's time to slip into a mind that's not our own. Let's go. On a bitterly cold January night in 1982, as these snowflakes danced like restless spirits over the Colorado landscape, when all of a sudden Harold Bray, a sheriff from Jefferson County, found himself entranced by this unusual spectacle below. You see, at that moment, he was cruising comfortably at a lofty altitude aboard a United Airlines jet. And most passengers, you know, they were snuggled in with their blankets, not paying attention at all, entire oblivious to the whole drama that was about to unfold. But not Bray, no. Bray kept his eye on everything. He was always watching and looking out for things. And then his eyes, all of a sudden, while looking out of the window of the plane, narrowed in on these little pattern of lights. And they were kind of winking from this mountainous terrain below. And it wasn't, you know, a group of late night hikers or early morning farmers. Rather, it was these huge lights blinking saying SOS. And for those of you that don't know what SOS means, in Morse code especially, it means help. So this lawman at the moment knew that he was the very unlikely audience to someone's desperate call for help. At this moment, Bray's stomach started to churn and he just said, "What are the odds?" And then he bolted to the front of the airplane to alert the captain, who swiftly relayed this information to the Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office. Say that 5 times fast. But within minutes, an all-out rescue was being marshaled below. Braving these gusty winds and treacherous roads, local first responders raced up the Guanala Pass that had a chilling 11,700 foot peak, which was located just east of Breckenridge. And they arrived just in time because in a heap of snow they found him, Alan Lee Phillips, a 30-year-old man whose face was battered by more than just icy winds and his breath smelling like cheap whiskey. And Phillips said that he actually been knocked around while he was driving because his truck was bombarded with this loads of snow. And the temperature outside had plummeted to below 25 degrees. And his truck, almost like a metal popsicle, was stuck in a snowdrift. He was fortunate. Actually extraordinarily fortunate. And as Bray would later go on to say, how in the heck did this guy get so lucky? And the rescue made national news. And this lawman that just happened to be on the plane was now a hero. And he would often say, imagine the astronomical number of puzzle pieces to have to fit together to have saved this young man from a perilous fate. Even a rescuer told the local news that they ended up picking out this guy straight out of hell. And that story, as non-ordinary as it may seem for this channel, may have to do with the next story. It may, so I'll just add that in. Okay, so our next story starts on January 6, 1982 in Breckenridge, Colorado, bustled with the activity typical of a ski resort town. And amidst these winter crowds, two young women, Annette Schnee and Barbara Oberholtzer, I hope I said that right, went about their day, unaware of the fate that awaited them. You see, Barbara, known by her friends as Bobby Joe, was a lively and spirited 29-year-old woman. And that day, in fact, she had much to celebrate. She had just received a promotion at her job. And after leaving work at around 7:30 p.m., she was eager to just get home and share the good news with her husband Jeff, with whom she planned to celebrate with that night. Meanwhile, Annette, who was a 21-year-old woman who recently moved to that area, was also just finishing up her shift. Friendly and well-liked, Annette also had plans to meet her friends, though, later in the evening. In this winter air that day, it was biting out. But for the young women accustomed to this Colorado winters, hitchhiking was actually a common and generally safe way to get around. Both women ended up being on separate paths, but with the same unfortunate destiny. So both women at separate times on the same day decided to thumb for a ride home. And it just so happened that the same man picked both of them up. And he was this 30-year-old mechanic that was just driving around that night. And underneath his seemingly normal exterior, this man unexpectedly harbored a darkness that would soon surface. You see, Barbara was the first to be picked up. And as she settled into the stranger's truck, she likely, made small talk, unaware of the danger she was about to be in. And then the drive took a sinister turn when the driver all of a sudden veered off the main road. The initial confusion and growing fear that she must have felt would have been palpable, as the reality of her situation would have been settling in. But let's go back to Annette, on the other hand. She would have actually caught a ride a little later on than Barbara. And she might have been feeling a sense of relief when a vehicle actually stopped to pick her up. And the interior of the man's truck would have been a welcoming respite from the blistering cold out. But like Barbara, that sense of security would be short-lived. For Barbara, the terror culminated in a brutal attack. The attacker actually shot her and left her body in a snowdrift on Hoosier Pass, 11 miles from where she was last seen. Sadly, she had been shot in the chest. Her body just left there, right in the snow. Only clue that was left behind was a glove that she was wearing that had these little spots of blood on them. I mean, her husband Jeff was in an absolute state of panic when she never returned home. And sadly, the next day, her lifeless body was discovered. Her new promotion and plans for the future were tragically cut short. Now, Annette's ordeal would have been similarly horrific. I mean, after being picked up, she was actually driven to a remote location where this monster ended her life. And unlike Barbara, her body was not found until 6 months later in a creek in Park County, still wearing these orange socks that would later prove crucial in this intense story. Okay, fast forward to 2020. The decades-old mystery of these two young women's deaths in Colorado began to actually unravel with the help of modern DNA technology. You see, investigators re-examined at this point the blood-stained glove that was found right near Barbara, the first victim of the night. Luckily, the glove had been meticulously stored in evidence. and its secrets were just waiting for science to catch up. Simultaneously, another piece of evidence resurfaced in the form of an orange sock. Now, as you probably know, this sock had been found on Annette Schnee, and it was discovered 6 months after she went missing. The bright color was a poignant reminder of the vibrant life that tragically was cut short. And for nearly 40 years, these pieces of crucial evidence had remained silent, the cases growing older with each passing year and colder. However, the excelling of genetic genealogy breathed new life into this investigation, and scientists managed to extract DNA from the blood on Barbara's glove. They ran the samples through public genealogy databases, hoping for a match that could lead them to their suspect. Meanwhile, the orange sock continued to tell its own story because what it did was actually connect the murders. You see, the orange sock from Annette had the same DNA on it that the glove had from Barbara. But it wasn't until the DNA from the glove pointed directly to a man that was now 70 years old, and his name was none other than Alan Lee Phillips. This revelation tied Phillips not only to Barbara but also to Annette, whose sock linked the two murders. Did any of you notice what both these stories have in common, which is January 6, 1982 in Colorado? Did anybody catch that? If you did, comment below. But yes, the disappearances of Barbara and Annette were actually the very same night and area where Alan Lee Phillips was miraculously rescued. The very same night. That's why I twisted the truth a little bit at the beginning, saying this was 2 stories, because it's actually only one. I mean, just imagine that stunning twist. A man that was once dramatically rescued from a snowstorm from somebody in a plane seeing him was revealed to be the cold-blooded killer responsible for the deaths of both these women on the same night. The glove and the orange sock, once isolated clues, converged to expose Phillips and finally bring justice to the victims' families. Who knows what Alan did in those nearly 40 years until he was caught? We know that earlier that night before he was rescued, he was killing Annette and Barbara. But maybe that miraculous rescue survival scared him into being a decent citizen, maybe a decent father or even a decent grandfather. Or maybe there's some more women that have mysteriously gone missing that are still cold cases today that could have been at the hands of Alan Lee Phillips himself. The tragic story of Annette and Barbara serve as a chilling reminder of the randomness of fate and the hidden dangers that can lurk behind a seemingly benign exterior. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you liked this episode, and if you did like it, make sure to hit that like button and share it. So, that's all I got for you guys today. I'll see you next time. Cheers.